Hey everyone, I'm Margaret, a 27-year-old corporate lawyer at Wilson & Brooks. But my journey here wasn't easy. I began feeling a mix of pride and nostalgia. Margaret, these flower arrangements are gorgeous, Sarah exclaimed, scrolling through options on her iPad. My best friend and my wedding planner had truly been a lifesaver. Mom would have loved these white roses. They were her favorite. I murmured, feeling that familiar ache in my chest. She used to grow them in our backyard. Tell me more about her, Henry said, squeezing my hand. My fiancé always knew when I needed comfort. Linda Mitchell was the kindest soul you'd ever meet. I was 15 when cancer took her, but those memories, I smiled faintly. Back then, Dad and I were so close. He'd swing me around the kitchen while Mom cooked Sunday dinners, calling me his little attorney because I always argued about bedtime. My smile faded. 3 months. It only took him 3 months to bring Patricia home, I added bitterly. And everything changed. She's really outdone herself this time, Uncle Thomas said, stepping into the room. Your father just called. Patricia's insisting on hosting the engagement party at their house instead of the venue you booked. Classic Pat. Sarah rolled her eyes. Remember when she accidentally spilled wine on your law school graduation dress? She asked. Or when she convinced your dad you were too busy to join their Christmas vacation, then posted all those perfect family photos without you? I nodded. The memory's sour. And Dad always defends her. He's so blind to her games. Uncle Thomas put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I saw through her the moment your father brought her home. The way she moved your mother's photos to the attic and replaced them with her own. I swallowed hard. But look at me now, partner at 27 and marrying the most amazing pediatrician. I grinned at Henry. Speaking of which, should I tell them how you proposed? Oh God, please don't, I laughed, recalling that chaotic night. He tried cooking my favorite pasta but ended up setting off the fire alarm for the entire building. But I still said yes. Between coughs. I laughed. Even with mascara running down my face from the smoke, the ring was in the garlic bread. That didn't burn, Henry defended himself, making everyone laugh. Uncle Thomas checked his watch, looking serious. Speaking of Patricia, she's been asking about your mother's jewelry collection. My stomach twisted. She'd better stay away from Mom's things, I said tensely. I still can't find Mom's pearl earrings after Patricia helped organize my closet last year. Don't worry, sweetheart, Uncle Thomas assured. I got your back, always have, always will. At least the wedding planning's going smoothly, aside from Pat trying to change everything Sarah and I decide on. I sighed. Sarah smirked. Just wait until she finds out you're planning to wear your mom's wedding dress. I wish you were here, Mom, I whispered, gently tracing the lace on her wedding gown. You know exactly how to handle all this. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the ivory silk. Mom had incredible taste. Just then, the door burst open, and Patricia stormed in, her face twisted with anger. So this is what you're doing behind my back. I told you I already ordered a new dress. This is my mother's dress, Pat. I'm wearing it. Patricia's face contorted. After I spent thousands on that designer gown? David, come see how your daughter is disrespecting me again. My father appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted. What's going on? She's deliberately excluding me from the wedding preparations, Patricia cried. I'm her stepmother. Pat, please, calm down, Sarah interjected, but Patricia was seething. Calm down. When she parades around in this old rag just to spite me, Patricia shrieked, lunging forward and grabbing the dress. Let go, I shouted, but it was too late. The horrible sound of tearing fabric filled the room as Patricia yanked, ripping a massive hole through the bodice. Oh my God, Sarah gasped. Henry rushed in, alarmed by the commotion. What happened? I stood there, trembling, holding the ruined remains of my mother's wedding dress. How could you? I whispered, my voice breaking. You brought this on yourself, Dad said, his words hitting me like a slap. If you had just included Patricia. Included her? I was shaking. She just destroyed Mom's dress, and you're defending her. You've been pushing her away since day one, always throwing your mother's memory in her face. Henry stepped forward, his voice firm. David, this is too far. Your wife just destroyed a family heirloom. Patricia sneered. Like those tacky old jewels she's so precious about. My blood ran cold. What did you do with Mom's jewelry? I have no idea what you're talking about, she said, but her smirk said otherwise. Empty your closet, Pat. Now, Uncle Thomas's commanding voice cut through the room, and we all turned. He stood in the doorway, fury radiating from him. You have no right. I have every right, Uncle Thomas said. That jewelry collection belongs to Margaret. It was in Linda's will, Uncle Thomas reminded them, his tone icy. This is my house, Dad argued, his face darkening, and those are my mother's things. He glared at me as if I was the intruder. What else has she taken? I demanded, my voice shaking. Check the pawn shops, Sarah whispered. Bet that's where Mom's pearl earrings went. Get out of my house, Patricia shrieked. Gladly, but this isn't over, I shot back, turning toward the door. Don't you dare walk out, Dad yelled after me. Or what, Dad? I replied, my voice cold. You'll blame me for that too. You might have destroyed her dress, but you'll never destroy her memory. Henry wrapped his arm around me as we left. I'm calling my lawyer first thing tomorrow. We're going to find everything she took, Margaret. I promise. As we drove away, I watched through my tears as Dad comforted Patricia in the doorway. It felt like the final nail in the coffin of our relationship. 2 weeks later, Sarah spread a series of files across my dining room table. 3 previous marriages, all to wealthy men. All ended under suspicious circumstances, she said, laying out court records. And look, Patricia filed for bankruptcy right before meeting your dad. Yet somehow, when she moved in, she had designer clothes and a new car. There's more. Sarah pulled up an email. Remember that pawn shop on 5th Street? I got confirmation she sold your mom's sapphire necklace there 3 months ago. My hands shook as I dialed Uncle Thomas. He answered on the first ring. Already at the jewelry store. The owner remembers her well. She's been selling pieces for years. I'm getting security footage. My phone buzzed with a message from my cousin Amy. Margaret, Pat's telling everyone you're lying about the dress incident because you're jealous of her and Uncle David's relationship. Sarah shook her head. Classic manipulation. But wait until they see this. She showed me a Facebook post from 2015. There was Patricia sitting with Dad at a cafe. The date stamp was 2 weeks before Mom's death. They were having an affair while Mom was dying. My voice cracked. Look at her hand on his. Sarah's tone grew serious. It gets worse. Your dad's company records just came through. Patricia's been named primary beneficiary of everything. House, business, life insurance. The changes were made last month. Just then, my phone rang, Patricia's number. Put it on speaker, Sarah whispered, hitting record on her phone. You think you're so clever, digging around. Patricia's voice was venomous. Back off, or I'll make sure you lose everything. Like you made Mom lose everything. I shot back. Oh, your precious mother was weak, she sneered. I saw what I wanted and took it. David was so easy to manipulate while she was wasting away in that hospital. I clenched my fists. And now you're taking her jewelry? Taking? Patricia laughed. Honey, I've been selling her trashy trinkets since year 1. David never noticed, just like he won't notice when I'm done cleaning out the company accounts. You won't get away with this. Watch me. I just convinced your father to remove you from his will completely. Apparently, you're too unstable to inherit anything. Good luck proving otherwise. Those were your mother's things, and now they're mine, just like everything else. After she hung up, Sarah stopped the recording, a triumphant look on her face. Just then, a text came in from Dad. Your behavior is destroying this family. Until you apologize to Patricia, don't bother coming home. Ugly want a war, I said, pulling out Mom's old diary, which I found hidden in the attic last week. Let's give them one. What's that? Sarah asked, her eyes narrowing. Mom's record of everything. Dated entries of her catching Dad and Patricia together. Emails from her old computer. She knew Sarah. She knew they were having an affair. Sarah nodded, resolute. No more playing nice. They want to erase your mom. Let's see how they handle the truth coming out. Just then, Uncle Thomas called again. Margaret, I got proof Patricia's been forging your father's signature on company checks. You won't believe who she's been paying. A week later, breaking news blared from my office TV. Local businesswoman Patricia Mitchell arrested in connection with a multi-state fraud scheme. Sarah grabbed the remote, turning up the volume as the anchor continued. The FBI investigation reveals a pattern of insurance fraud spanning 3 states, with estimated damages in the millions. My phone rang. It was Uncle Thomas. Margaret, you need to hear this. Your father just caught Patricia with Jack Thompson, his own business partner. Not only that, but they've been embezzling together. David walked in on them transferring company funds offshore. Before I could react, my office door burst open. Dad stood there, looking shattered. Margaret, I need your help. The company, Patricia, she. Let me guess. I interrupted. She cleaned out the accounts. Dad's face crumbled. How did you? The same way she did with her last 3 husbands. Remember Robert Kane? He's been building a case against her for years. He reached out to me last month. He took a shaky breath. The company's bankrupt, the loans she took out. I'm losing everything, Margaret. I was wrong about everything. Your mother's dress, her jewelry, her memory. Henry stepped in, his voice calm but firm. Mr. Mitchell, I think it's time for you to leave. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Pat just tried boarding a flight to Cancun. FBI grabbed her at the gate. I looked back at Dad. You know what's funny? All these years, you chose her over me, and she was playing you the entire time. I can fix this, he whispered. No, you can't. Uncle Thomas helped me protect Mom's inheritance, the only assets Pat couldn't touch. The company's gone, Dad, just like our relationship. 3 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in my wedding dress. Not my mom's, but still perfect. Uncle Thomas appeared in the doorway, ready to walk me down the aisle. Sarah adjusted my veil, smiling. Pat's sentencing is tomorrow. 20 years minimum. And Dad? He was living with his sister, asking if he could still be a part of the wedding. But some bridges can't be rebuilt. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with people who truly loved us. No Patricia. No Dad. No toxic drama. Later that night, during the reception, Uncle Thomas raised his glass. To Margaret and Henry, and to Linda, who's watching over her daughter today. My phone lit up with a message from Dad. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm so sorry, Margaret. For everything. Henry pulled me close, looking around at my real family, Uncle Thomas, Sarah, Henry, and our friends. I smiled, feeling ready for this new life. Some people might call it karma. I call it justice. Either way, I won. What would you do if someone close to you tried to erase the memory of a loved one you'd lost? Would you hope they change, or would you protect yourself, even if it meant losing them? Let me know your thoughts below.